Best ball is still in the early stages of 2025, which means there's a lot of value. There's a lot of undervalued players to be had. We're going to talk quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end, and give the most undervalued players at each position and see if we can't get them in a draft on DraftKings.com. I'm Erik Beimfohr. This is Spike Week. Let's do it. Good afternoon. It's a wonderful Thursday. I almost said Wednesday, which tells you everything you need to know about this time of year. It's crazy. It's hectic. It is a ton of fun. We got basketball games and hockey playoffs and baseball during the day, all day. And of course, tons and tons of best ball drafts to do, fantasy football drafts. And that's what we're here to talk about. I wanted to talk a little bit here in early May about some of the players that I think are the most undervalued, because part of the reason why we should be even just thinking about fantasy football on what is today, May 8th, why we should be thinking about fantasy football, why we should be drafting best ball teams is to get these guys who are at prices that frankly we think that they should not be. Later in the summer, right, coming up soon, we're going to get training camp. We're going to get depth chart news. Some guys might get hurt. Some guys, right, George Pickens gets traded. We're going to get a bunch of stuff that we're going to be reacting to. But right now, we don't really have that outside of a George Pickens trade, of course. We don't really have that. And so what's the point of drafting right now? What's the point of even like worrying about fantasy football right now? It's to identify the players who are probably mispriced. And we all have our takes on just about every guy in the player pool. You can, of course, this is the guys you're going to see here today are stemming from our rankings at Spike Week, kind of the biggest difference between their ADP and where we have them ranked. But we want to target the dudes who are mispriced. Not all of them will rise, right? Last year, Tyler Algier was and a little foreshadowing. You may hear that name again later. Tyler Algier was like my highest owned player, and I just kept expecting him to rise in price. But the market, I don't think, values backup running backs appropriately, and certainly not as much as I do. So we'll talk about that during the running backs. But you also sometimes get Jordan Mason, right? You also sometimes get crazy risers, right? George Pickens is going to rise. I left George Pickens off because I don't think it was fair to mention him since he just got traded, but he would be in an honorable mention section probably of this discussion. But we want to target the guys who, and not only just can they rise, but we think that they're underpriced and they might rise, right? Think about a scenario in June or July where some more foreshadowing. We'll stick to Tyler Algier. I don't want to give away any more names. The Falcons come out and say, we really got to ease the burden on Bijan Robinson. And we love Tyler Algier. So we need to give Tyler Algier some more work. Whether that news even comes to fruition or not, Tyler Algier is going to move up, right? So I'm envisioning a scenario in which I think these guys are underpriced without any news. And then we get the news and everybody's like, oh my gosh, run to the podium to draft these guys. They skyrocket up in price. And so we should draft them now, right? So we're going to go through, I got 4 players at each position. We're going to run through those fairly quickly because we're here to draft, right? And then we'll hop in a DraftKings draft. 2 quick things. If you have not been following on DraftKings, they're doing promos essentially every single day that's giving you some kind of reward for doing something. Oftentimes like the one that was yesterday, which hopefully you guys took advantage of, was deposit $20+ and you get a free $20 ticket into the DraftKings Millie Maker. And they just gave it to you right away. Like you deposited $20. You didn't have to spend the $20. Just put $20 on DraftKings and instantly that ticket was in your account. It's also worth noting our friends over at Drafters are running a pretty awesome promo from now until the end of June, I believe that it is, where you can earn hundreds of free entries. Hundreds of dollars of free entries, I should say. And of course, if you haven't played on Drafters and you deposit using promo code SPIKE, you can get $100 free there. So there's $200, and there every kind of step of the way, there's a lot kind of a ladder-ish system where you can earn by the end of June if you draft X amount of teams. So if you're wondering how to deploy your draft time, your draft dollars here in May and June, there's some nice perks on Drafters and DraftKings that you can take advantage of. So just wanted to mention those before we get into some of and I'll hit you guys' comments here really quickly, and then we'll dive into starting with the quarterbacks, some of our best values in early drafts. Best ball, and this is do we get to see Erik draft Pat Freiermuth? He's not on the list today, though we did have a fun conversation about Pat Freiermuth in the Discord, which of course there was a link to the Discord in the description. Most of the channels are now for subscribers only, but of course you can ask about the tools. You have a support issue, et cetera, et cetera. You can still access all that at the link in the description. Shout out Michael. He says, "Hey Erik, the hard work you do and all the information, data, and analysis you provide us fantasy football junkies. Appreciate you. Thank you for joining. I'm glad that you are enjoying it. We are going to be kind of starting today is almost like my like sort of kick. We did some shows last week, right? But I would kind of call today like the real kickoff. I'm gonna be posting the schedule for all of our shows and labs and everything that's in the Discord and what have you tonight. So you'll see everything that we got coming here this summer. A couple new shows and some of the status quo, but you'll be getting a whole bunch of Spike Week content. So appreciate you. Where do you value Josh Downs? Michael asks. I'm honestly, Josh Downs is not what I would call one of the best values on the board, but a completely good and solid pick. I think Josh Downs is the best wide receiver on the Colts. I don't know if that's a hot take. I think it would have been a hot take last year, and I think we had that take here last year that Michael Pittman is just not that good. Josh Downs is good, but as you mentioned, the Colts situation, like best case scenario for him is Daniel Jones or like Anthony Richardson just takes some monstrous leap, and he is still a small slot receiver. So I have him ranked a little bit, just a tick ahead of ADP, but nothing super crazy. I think he's a completely fine pick, but not like, again, that's not a sprint to the podium, slam dunk value through the lens of what we're talking about here today. Shout out Pi. Zeus says, just wanted to say the recent podcast with Kareen was great. Thanks for those. Yeah, I enjoyed I enjoyed that one as well. Kareen and I do fun, like kind of bouncing around of like total, like high level strategery, right? If you will, macro level strategy, even micro level strategy. But then sometimes we pop into, let's just talk about a bunch of these players that like we can't figure out. And those, right? Like I'm glad that you guys enjoy them, but it's just like 2 to 3 hours of Kareen and I like figuring things out. Like we don't come in like with an idea of really what we're going to say or what we're going to talk about, or we're like, you're watching us like figure out our own process right over the course of the summer. So hopefully that helps. Agree. Go ahead and hit like. The interesting one, Savion Williams, not going to make the list today, but I respect the spiciness of a Savion Williams. Anytime that you can call a wide receiver who played running back in college one of the best values, that's definitely spicy. I understand why you put Ducks on there. Massive Audio America Latina. That's a mouthful, but fun, but a fun name. How do you adjust your overall strategy going from BBM formats to the big dog and 555 drafts? That is a great question that I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to tell you that we are going to do another, which we did not do last year, but we're going to do a series of videos where the Spike Week team, we will draft a DraftKings 555 slow draft, and we will get into a lot of that. The one thing that I will say is my strategy doesn't really change that much. However, I think the main thing is to be really cognizant of what the advance rate structure is, right? most of the time it's still 2 out of 12 in that first round. And so, like, if as long as the first round is no different in terms of advancing, I don't care that much. The playoff rounds are going to be significantly easier, but what are we really going to do, right, in those drafts that is different? Some people will tell you take more quarterbacks or take more tight ends or whatever. I don't really think that's true. I'm still trying to win the tournament. All the money is in the final still. I believe the DraftKings 555 is, it is, I know it is $1 million to first with a small field final, but it'd be great. I think it's $15,000 if you make it to week 17, which is great. But I put $500 in. I hope I'm getting, some decent money back, and I'm playing for the million, right? So, if anything, I think really leaning into what you think the biggest edges are, and that some people will do the opposite and lean into the things they don't love as much in high stakes. I don't love that. I'm just look, this is where I'm putting my biggest amount of money down. And it is also easier to advance in the playoffs, right? We're assuming that it's still 2 out of 12 in the first round. So long as it's still 2 out of 12 in the first round, whatever. You know what I mean? Okay, it's easier to advance in week 16, but specifically, what are we doing to plan for that? We could talk about quarterbacks and tight ends and stuff. I don't think it's that big of a difference. Raphael loves some Ravens. I like it. I also like the Ravens. Yes, Michael. But save the trade question. Well, let me rip through these, my favorite values, and when we get to hop in the DraftKings draft, we can start to chopping it up a little bit, because I've been talking for 12 minutes and I haven't done a single thing in terms of talking about these values. We got a fun little slideshow going on here. Let's see. All right. At the quarterback position, let's start here. We got four names at each position. The four biggest values, in my opinion. Again, this is according to the Spike Week rankings, which are, of course, according to tons of different inputs for all of these different players. Justin Herbert, number one. Justin Herbert went from, he's such an interesting, the trajectory and the roller coaster that is the Justin Herbert fantasy career, not so much real life, although his real life career is quite fascinating as well. Justin Herbert, after an incredible rookie season, right? The Chargers doctor jabs Tyrod Taylor. Herbert steps in, sets the world on fire as a rookie, and then has been anointed ever since as an NFL superstar. And we've just slowly seen his price go down and down and down and down. And I think that was a correct adjustment at first, right? We catapulted him. If you recall, if you were playing in really any form of fantasy, but also if you were playing best ball back then, Justin Herbert's second season after his awesome rookie season, he was the quarterback 2 by ADP. Quarterback 2. It wasn't Josh Allen. It wasn't Jalen Hurts. He went rounds ahead of those guys. So he's been kind of steadily falling ever since then. And I think that some of the fall has, right, he can run. He's not a runner, right? There's a difference between, Joe Burrow can run, but he's not really a runner. Patrick Mahomes can run, and he's not really a runner. That's what Justin Herbert is. So those guys just have a limit, I think, to how high they should go. But now we have this stable situation. We have proven superstar, second-year wide receiver, Ladd McConkey, right? We know Ladd's a superstar because he goes at the beginning of this, beginning to middle of the second round of best ball drafts and was incredible as a rookie. He has a quality offensive line with a quality coaching staff that he now is in year 2 with those guys. They have upgraded or theoretically upgraded the pass catching talent, the offensive talent. Amari and Hampton, say whatever we want about Najee Harris. Amari and Hampton and Najee Harris is probably better than J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Tyler Conklin, again, not something special, but you get another just competent pass catcher. We'll see about a Rondé Gadsden, but of course, my boy, Trey Harris, right? So now there's just continual beefing up of this offense, and so DeMarcus just doesn't care about Justin Herbert. Drake May next. Drake May, I believe, is the player on here with the widest gap between where we have him ranked and his ADP to the good side for Drake May. Kind of very similar situation. Drake May proved to us as a rookie, stud, right? In a disastrous situation. Terrible coaching, absolutely no surrounding talent, a horrible offensive line, And Drake May still was not like absolutely elite, but proved to us that he is not only a good fantasy asset with the way that he runs, right? The way that he throws the ball downfield, but is a really good and potential huge breakout second year NFL quarterback. Add Stephon Diggs, right? Add Kyle Williams, add Travion Henderson. I always say Trevion because that's how it's spelled, and it pisses me off that they pronounce it wrong. Travion Henderson, right? Improve the offensive line. Still some small offensive line concerns, but so be it, right? The situation is just night and day from what it was last year. Drake May, I don't understand why he goes where he goes. Coaching upgrade, everything. Dak Prescott, we could have argued Dak wouldn't have maybe been on this list before, but now we get George Pickens, and you want to talk about a guy who should shoot up the boards. Like the greatest benefactor of the George Pickens trade is Dak Prescott. Coming back healthy this season, CeeDee Lamb, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL as his alpha. George Pickens, the perfect number two for a fit wise, the perfect number two for fantasy upside from a downfield big play type threat, right? That they've just never been able to really have. Where they've tried Gallup, they've tried Brandon Cooks, they've tried Jalen Tolbert, they started playing Kevontae Turpin down the stretch because they've just been craving this type of a player. Add him to the mix with Jake Ferguson coming back, who I think is possibly might show up in just a minute, is just an undervalued asset in and of himself. And Dak Prescott, slam dunk for me. Too cheap on all best ball sites. Michael Penix, the last quarterback. Sure, the Falcons didn't add any offensive talent, but they didn't need to. Drake London, Darnell, we were taking Kirk Cousins off of a knee injury at the same price or earlier. Then we're now taking second-year Michael Penix, who also in a small dose showed us that he can play. Is Michael Penix going to be a superstar? I'm not sure, but the price is just too cheap, right? For Bijan, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, say whatever we want about Kyle Pitts, Tyler Algier, competent offensive line, playing in a dome, playing in the worst division in football, constantly playing in good weather. I don't really understand why Michael Penix is as cheap as he is. Let's go to running backs. I will keep this one a little bit briefer because less people want to talk about essentially backup running backs. But what I will say is the frame. Why is this list? Why are the four most undervalued running backs backups? Will Shipley, Trey Benson, Jordan Mason, and Tyler Algier. Because I believe that the market has no idea how to price backup or committee running backs. Because when we can't walk in and say, I know exactly how many snaps, how many touches, right? What percentage of the backfield this guy's going to have in week one, it creates a lot of uncertainty, right? Like if Bijan never gets hurt, is Tyler Algier ever going to be a true smash? Can he provide a couple, double-digit point games? Sure, as he does and likely will again this year, even alongside Bijan. But that doesn't mean that they are not incredibly valuable best ball assets. They can be useful alongside their air quotes workhorse starter. Not all of these guys have workhorse starters, especially Jordan Mason. They can be valuable alongside that guy. No team plays their running back every single snap. Not Saquon Barkley on here, not James Conner on here, and not Bijan Robinson. They may play the majority of the game, but you can still get useful games out of backup and committee running backs, even if chaos does not break out into their favor. But chaos can break out in their favor in any way where Bijan gets no one is rooting for any of this. We all love Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson gets a concussion in the first quarter in week 17. And now you have Tyler Algier, workhorse, right? If we knew just in that one game, the value of just having a back who you can draft at 160 overall or 150 overall or 200 overall, who even just one time all season can be a projectable RB1 in fantasy, right? If Saquon Barkley goes down, Will Shipley is what? Top 5 running back? Certainly top 10, right? We saw this with Chase Brown. Once we removed Zach Moss from the equation, it was Chase Brown projected legitimately right next to Saquon Barkley every single week, at least in PPR. The value of that, even if it's for a short stretch, it doesn't have to, Bijan doesn't have to tear his ACL and miss the entire season. The value of what those guys can provide. So this list, right, you could add Braylon Allen to this list. You could add probably Jalen Wright to this list. You could add a number of different players. I think these guys are the best of that litter. Jordan Mason is a little bit unique in that Aaron Jones is not a workhorse, and they've clearly valued what Jordan Mason brings to the table. They've been talking him up endlessly. I think the price on Jordan Mason is laughable. He is not just a backup. He's going to score fantasy points week one when Aaron Jones is playing. If Aaron Jones misses time, we saw what Jordan Mason can do with the 49ers. The Vikings are just as good of a spot as the 49ers. Jordan Mason is a really good football player. He might score double-digit touchdowns this year. So Will Shipley, backup to Saquon is the 101, 102. Kenny Gainwell is gone. A.J. Dillon is not a thing. The backup to Saquon Barkley, who also does not play every snap, Saquon's going to play 70% or so, 75% or so. There's like we saw in the playoffs last year, there's outs for Will Shipley. You count like having useful games alongside Saquon Barkley if something happens to Saquon Barkley. Insane. Like there's absolutely no reason that we take two Giants running backs basically in the top 100 and the 102's backup. In his own right, a talented second-year player, third-round pick, like talent. I believe third. Was it third or fourth? Anyway, real draft capital, pass catcher. Shipley's a pretty good pass catcher. Like, there's absolutely no reason that this player should be pick 200. What are we doing here? Trey Benson, right, did not quite pop last season. James Conner, a year older. The word is that they want to use Trey Benson more. They did start to use Trey Benson more when he was healthy down the stretch. Let's save James Conner's legs, right? We can't keep doing this run James Conner into the ground thing. That's why we drafted Trey Benson. So let's get a little more use out of Trey Benson, but the market doesn't like him. They liked him better last year, and he's probably a much better pick this year, but the price got cheaper. And again, I mentioned Tyler Algier. Just a good football player on a good offense. And if he gets the opportunity, awesome. Let's do some wide receivers. Yeah, exactly. Huhaim says Jordan Mason. They already said he's the goal line back. I think I stole the double-digit touchdowns from Kevin O'Connell. 4 wide receivers. Rashee Rice. Like, I don't know why everybody hates him every single year. I guess I should say I do know a little. The suspension risk lessens by the day. It sounds like it's almost, I don't want to say a lock, almost assuredly not happening this year is the latest that we have on the suspension. So we have very little suspension risk. We have a glowing report. So he did not blow out his knee, right? This is not a Brandon Ayuk situation. This is not one of those. He is already working out. Patrick Mahomes is already discussing the fact that Rice looks great. He's running routes, catching passes from Patrick Mahomes. We could get to camp and they're like, yeah, yep. Rashee is wheels up, right? Going to be ready for week 1. And he was the Chiefs wide receiver 1. Xavier Worthy is a nice football player. Xavier Worthy is not going to be the wide receiver workhorse. That is Rashee Rice. So if I can get that player who has proven to be a pretty elite fantasy asset on the Chiefs in the 30s and 40s on DraftKings, he goes in the 40s. Like, this guy we were drafting him in the second round of big board drafts, right? Pre-draft contests. Not this season, but the season before. Like, we all love Rashee Rice. The market values this guy as essentially a second round pick, and we can get him in the 4th. That's crazy. Chris Godwin. Yep. Injuries, right? So there's both of these guys, injuries. That's why they are cheap, but I'm absolutely down. Ayuk tore his ACL and MCL. I believe the only report for Rashee Rice was PCL. Also hilarious name. Teabagging time. That got me a good chuckle. Also the photo is very funny. But yeah, why is Rice's knee not as bad as Ayuk? He tore his PCL and Ayuk tore his ACL and MCL. So significantly worse injury. Like, Ayuk is supposedly on a good track right now. All reports are good, but it was a significant knee injury. It's not that Rice's wasn't significant. It's just less significant than, like, it wasn't like what we think about knee injuries. We say, oh no, has to get knee surgery. It's like there's levels to it, right? And his was just a multiple levels below what happened to Brandon Ayuk. Chris Godwin did not hurt his knee, broke his ankle. And I just call this vibes because I also do love Chris Godwin. There's almost no one I trust more to work his ass off to get back and be healthy. It was a fracture. There's risk. Undoubtedly, there's risk. But when Chris Godwin got hurt, he was the wide receiver 2 in fantasy, right? They drafted Emeka Egbuka for the future, and he's going to play this year. And guess what, Jalen McMillan, that's probably not good for you. And he's a risk. Egbuka can fill in a lot of different roles for them. But if Chris Godwin is back, and Chris Godwin is the same Chris Godwin we just saw, who was the wide receiver just barely behind Jamar Chase for the wide receiver 1 overall in fantasy when he got hurt, like, how can I not buy this dip? Right? I understand the risk, right? I understand the Egbuka risk. I understand the injury risk, but he was elite last year. And I'm not paying an elite price, right? If I was paying second round prices for the wide receiver 2 last year, sure. Let's start to talk about that risk. We're not paying, that risk is not appropriately priced in here, in my opinion. Trey Harris, if you have listened to me or you used our rankings or you've read my rookie content, you will know that I love Trey Harris. I won't wax poetic about him anymore, but the biggest concern that we had for Trey Harris heading into this summer draft cycle, this 2025 fantasy season, was because the NFL love him. Like, we get it, right? We see the analytical profile is elite. He pops on film in certain ways, right? He is not a perfect player, but he pops in certain ways, but certain ways that are quite good, right? Making big plays, yards after catch, catch deep balls, contested catch, all that kind of stuff. He pops in many ways, but is the NFL worried about him, right? Not super duper fast, maybe has some route issues in terms of the full route tree at the NFL level. Well, guess what? One of the sharper teams in the entire NFL who has a glaring need for some wide receiver production, specifically on the outside, because Josh Palmer is gone, which we'll talk about in a second. Quentin Johnston, not great. Brought back Mike Williams. I'm not sure if you watched Mike Williams last year. Not great. They have this glaring need. They're attached to Justin Herbert. And they said, second round pick, Trey Harris, we do believe in you. So guess what? It ain't stopping me from believing in him. I already did believe, and I was already going to like him. This price is ridiculous. Luther Burden, second round pick on the Bears, goes multiple rounds ahead of Trey Harris. Doesn't make any sense to me. Josh Palmer is the Leonardo DiCaprio meme. If you're sitting at home and you know me at all, you're sitting on your chair drinking a beer, maybe not drinking a beer at 3:00 on a Thursday afternoon. I don't know. No, there's no judgments here. If that's your thing, a little happy hour action, go for it. Everybody loves a little happy hour. Josh Palmer, you're like, excuse me, Josh Palmer is on, but if you also listen to Karain and I's episode of Legendary Sickos, where we talked about chaperones, I think I am. This is hilarious. Melch, shout out Melch. We love Melch, and thank you for joining us. But Josh Palmer is my favorite chaperone wide receiver, and so I just wanted to shout him out. He is. I think Josh Palmer has reached levels like across the fantasy industry where we lump all of these like not great wide receivers together when there's a bunch of tiers of how they are. I think we treat everyone who's not good as Van Jefferson. I don't know if you've looked at Van Jefferson's metrics in quite a while. We're talking about like a 0.8 yards per route run, never earns a target, just out there running wind sprints. Chris Hogan style. We lump kind of everyone in there, and I have done this myself. And so it's an area of improvement for me. And when you like Rashee Rice, and when you like Chris Godwin, and when you like rookies like Trey Harris, sometimes you need on teams in your wide receiver rooms these veterans. This is peak chaperone Josh Palmer, who's going to come in. He's an NFL wide receiver. He's not a star, but they need. Matt Collins is gone. Amari Cooper is gone. Josh Palmer is going to run the overwhelming majority of the routes for the Buffalo Bills. He's attached to Josh Allen, and he has showed in past seasons his ability to earn targets when the wide receiver room or the pass catching room that he's in is not great. Right? Like when Keenan Allen and Mike Williams were hurt, one was out, two were out with the Chargers. We had a stretch, I believe it was in 2022. I don't remember exactly what weeks, in the middle of the 2022 season. Keenan and Mike Williams are hurt. Justin Herbert has no one else to throw to. He had 60 targets over a six game stretch. He's had multiple 100-yard games. And even last year, right? He played 10 games, I believe, and had 200-yard games. This is not Van Jefferson, but he's being treated like Van Jefferson, and he's attached to Josh Allen. I get it. They were very disappointing last year, the way that the Bills played offense. But things happen. You know what I mean? We've seen the Ravens defense collapse in years. Mark Andrews, tight end one season, came because the defense had injuries and fell apart. The Bills defense projects to be worse this year, right? They've had attrition, veterans leaving. Just when you have Josh Allen on your team, he's very expensive, right? You got to pay James Cook. You got to, there's reasons to believe that what we saw last year with the Bills is not exactly how this season for the Bills will play out. And Josh Palmer is just a completely fine NFL wide receiver who's going to be out there the whole game with Josh Allen. So sign me up. Let's see here. Huaim says it's wild that Josh Palmer seems to be falling after Elijah Moore. I'm sorry, but come on. As an Elijah Moore slappy for multiple seasons after he came into the NFL, let's stop it. Stop it. Stop trying to make Fetch a thing. Fetch is not going to be a thing. Elijah Moore is not a thing. He's probably not going to make the team in Buffalo. He's more likely to be playing in the XFL next year at this time than he is to be impacting Josh Palmer's fantasy outlook. That's how much we hate Josh Palmer. We'll keep wish casting Elijah Moore instead of just drafting Josh Palmer. Tight end. Another little kind of spicy collection here. Shout out. I know Pi loves Jig as well. Jake Ferguson. I understand some people are going to knock him for the George Pickens edition. Au contraire, I think this is great. Elevate the offense, right? Tight ends are generally kind of touchdown reliant anyway. So now the offense is going to be much better and they're going to score more touchdowns. Yeah, sign me up for Jake Ferguson. The plummet from last season is just a little bit of an overreaction. He was going too high last year. Cool, fair, right? We got it. Now, I believe ADP 145 on DraftKings. Come on, stop it. Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert is a guy who I fully admit I was not as into as I should have been when this year started. And the more I've thought about it, there's only 3 pass catchers with the Eagles. Even if this season goes according to plan, Goddard is a completely fine, probably neutral pick at his ADP, right? Think about it goes exactly like last year does. He has a couple good games and a bunch of 7 to 10 point games, right? Because they don't throw that much. He's the third option. It is what it is, right? The same thing that happens last year happens with the Eagles. But there's a bunch of scenarios that the same thing doesn't happen, right? Maybe the defense isn't as good and they have to throw more. Maybe they just play a tougher schedule, which they will be. They play a tougher schedule and the opposing offenses just score more. So the Eagles have to throw more. Maybe something happens to Saquon, even for just a stretch. Or if something happens to either A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith, you have an absolute smash in Dallas Goedert at his price. There's just no path to a true, other than a Dallas Goedert injury, there's no path to true failure. And everybody has the injury, right? If they get hurt, they're a bad pick. No shit. But if AJ Brown goes down, Dallas Goedert is one of the top fantasy tight ends because they don't, right? Johnny Wilson is not coming in and replacing AJ Brown. The offense just goes, oh shit, AJ Brown's out, Devontae and Goddard. That's it, right? Which happened, I believe, in the Saints game this past season when he went 11 for 170 or something like that. It's Devontae Smith goes out. Okay, we're not throwing to, Anais Smith. We're throwing to Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith. Chigakonkwo, I think has shown real upside, is still a youthful player. And we're more excited about the overall Titans offense right? They've made a bunch of big upgrades. They've injected a bunch of talent, and they had the first overall pick in Cam Ward at quarterback. So we're like, okay, I can do this Calvin Ridley thing. I can do Tony Pollard. Okay, spicy, right? Alec Iomanor is the 4th-round pick. Was not even the first wide receiver drafted on his own team. Chimere Dike was drafted before him. We're like, oh, Iomanor, I liked him as a prospect. Look, this is interesting. And the tight end, Chig Okonkwo, I assume because they drafted Gunnar Helm, who, forgive me if I'm not worried about Gunnar Helm, who runs like a 5.5 40, is completely free, totally free in drafts. If you need a back stack, right, in a best ball draft, Cam Ward, Chig Okonkwo feels really nice, extremely nice. And Chig actually started to show a little bit of upside, I believe, down the stretch of last season, both target earning and actual production. Then last one before we get into draft here. Harold Fannin Jr., similar to the Trey Harris thing, the tight end I was most excited for in the pre-draft cycle. He's my favorite tight end prospect, like relative to cost. I don't think he's the best tight end in this class, though he might be the best receiving tight end in this class. Just a weird, right? More of what we would classify as a big slot than a traditional tight end, but gets real draft capital from Cleveland. It's an awkward fit. The Browns are a dumpster fire. They have 5 quarterbacks, which means you have none. However, we could very easily see the Flacco show here for a year. And I don't know if you've seen their wide receiver room. They just signed Deontay Johnson because it's so bad. Like the whole 12 personnel thing, right? Which means 1 running back and 2 tight ends gets overhyped every single year. But this one, we're not hyping it at all. Why can't Harold Fannin earn routes next to David Njoku? And why can't Harold Fannin just be a part of this passing game and a part of this team that was terrible, right? And we saw with Jameis, these guys were just absolutely smashing. Jerry Jeudy, right? Elijah Moore, probably people still think he's good because he actually scored a couple of points when Jameis was in there. And we got Joe Flacco. Do we not remember what happens with Joe Flacco at quarterback? I'm not saying Joe Flacco is the locked-in starter, right? Who knows? They got 5 freaking quarterbacks. But there's just upside here. And I wanted to include, like a last round dart. He's too talented, and there's too much upside at the tight end position for Harold Fannin. All right. Enough of me. This is very true. This is very, very true. Jet says Josh Palmer. Josh Palmer is a Bills ass signing, I believe, is what we would say. We are going to get ready to hop in. Hold on, I got to send my teams over to the old draft hacker. Let me go get my lineups here. Got to sign in. Get my lineups that we'll send over to the draft hacker. Want to make sure my exposures are showing correctly when we hop in this draft. This is also a great point. Okay, lineups have been sent. We're going to hop in to the $20 NFL Best Ball 15 million millionaire. What a stupid name. Just say Millie Maker. We all call it the Millie Maker. Just fucking put Millie Maker as the title. But yes, behind on the Bills conversation. D. Owen says behind on the Bills conversation, but Cook and Allen almost have to regress on rushing touchdowns. Also true, like 100%. We just look at it last year as the wide receivers were useless, and they were. But that also, it's not like a guarantee. Like, touchdown variance happens. Sometimes Deontay Johnson scores 0 touchdowns, and sometimes Deontay Johnson scores 8 touchdowns in a season, right? Sometimes Trey McBride can't score a touchdown, and maybe Trey McBride will actually score some touchdowns this year because good players score touchdowns. Would not be surprising, right? Like that, it's just how regression works. So I'm with you. I am not sure, Pepper Tony, if this is a joke, but it's not Friday, brother. Ooh, nice. D. Ross is headed out to Oregon to get some slows going. I have not got my slow draft train rolling just yet, but I'm actually looking forward to it. And I was never a slow draft bro, but last year got me slow draft pilled. I'm still going to do tons, of course, of fast drafts, but I really enjoyed the process of doing more slows. last year. I do agree. I do agree with this. Deontay is very draftable, and he's not drafted in every draft. I put him in the rankings. Let's not talk about it. I'm not excited to talk about Deontay Johnson. No one is. NFL teams are not excited to talk about Deontay Johnson, but I think he's draftable. Terrence likes Oronde Gadsden more than fair. Gadsden went in the 5th round, and he has 2 veteran tight ends in front of him. And Gadsden is competing a little bit more with like, Ladd type, right? So he's got to somehow earn snaps over Conklin and Disley. I should say Disley and Conklin because I think that's probably the order. But and then like Ladd's a little more of a slot. Ladd can move around, of course, but I think he just has a slightly tougher path than beating out Jamari Thrash or whatever. But totally fair. Got no issue with Oronde Gadsden. Liz Stoic. I think the Patriots and Panthers in general are undervalued. With you. 100% with you. I almost included Stephon Diggs on the list at wide receiver, but I thought Drake May was enough to include there. Does Gunnar Helm give you pause for Chig? He had more catches at Texas last year than Golden. Yeah, he definitely could get in the way, but he's a pretty uninspiring prospect. I don't have his efficiency numbers in front of me, but they're not good. He's very slow, though the draft capital was fine for Gunnar Helm, but I'm not concerned, but it is something I will be monitoring. So I'm gonna do something fun. No, let's. So I have CD ranked 102. Okay, so we're gonna take CD Lamb. What I almost did though is as you can see here, I do not have. I'm trying to highlight this, but it's not highlighting. We'll put Malik Neighbors. Okay, I starred him. See, we starred Malik. I don't have any Malik Neighbors yet, and I think that that's ridiculous. And I love Malik Neighbors, and you should not go in your life without any Malik Neighbors. So I considered pulling Neighbors. I love Jefferson, right? I'm trying to get my shares, but I've got a little more Jefferson already. I'm not necessarily looking to massage my ownerships just yet, but I love Malik Neighbors. So we almost pulled him up, but CeeDee Lamb also seems fine. Love it. Drake May and Bryce both at 25% here with Who Hames. So we got the chat agreeing. We got the chat agreeing on some undervalued options. I do also enjoy, yeah. You can drag out some slows, little slow drip. You can get in different, right? Hop in. I know you're mentioning you're in Washington, so you have to go somewhere like Oregon to hop in the slow drafts, but I really do find it fun. Obviously, shameless plug. If you have the Spike Week tools, if you have the Draft Hacker and Draft IQ, being able to go in and like just really quickly identify, this player combo I don't have. It helps me with my decision making so much, and it's so much easier to do in slows where I can get in and really quickly be like, oh yeah, okay, I'm in the 4th round. I've taken whoever, right? Every time I take AJ Brown, every time I have AJ Brown, I keep taking Jalen Hurts. So I'm like, let's not do it this time. And then let's look, okay, I can look at my opponents. I can see what my portfolio says. I can see all of this different stuff and make those decisions in the slows. I love a good fast draft. We're doing one right now, but it's pretty fun. Yeah. They make some changes. They made some changes that were annoying. They also just changed Harold Fannon's name from Harold Fannin Jr. to Harold Fannin. Just like why are we making these silly changes? You got a great product. Just leave it. Let it be. I would like to be able to see my tight end on this if I take a screenshot of my team. Fix that, please. Don't change the box sizes. You can see I have a whole bunch of Lab McConkey, but I do not have him with CeeDee Lamb yet. I don't imagine he's going to fall back to me, but if he does, we're going to snap call. I have a bunch of, there goes Lad. Trey McBride is on, as you can see here, is on 100% of my CeeDee Lamb teams. So we're probably not going to do that. I am going to scroll down a little smidgy here. I'm going to take me some T. Higgins with CD. I am admittedly a little more open to some of the running backs this year, partially because, well, we just talked about with the value. Like my favorite values at running back are later, but my favorite values at wide receiver are kind of in the, again, Rasheed, Chris Godwin, Trey Harris. I've got options later, Josh Palmer's of the world. There's other rookies, right? Matthew Golden. Somebody asked about the Packers wide receiver, so I can get to that in a minute. Yeah, sorry. I try to keep going back to the board, but let's switch this real quick. I try to keep going back to the board, but just yell at me if I end up accidentally staying on the players tab. So let's do my first. But dogs are growling. What I was going to say is, with some of those wide receiver values, with the tight end values, with some of those things that occur, especially here on DraftKings, I'm not going like full-fledged zero running back. I will say I'm lighter on the first round running backs. I'm going to be lighter on the first round running backs, but it's not even so much that I like hate them. It's that I really want to get overweight. I want to get overweight. You can't really get overweight Jamar Chase unless a miracle happens. But I want to get overweight CeeDee Lamb. I genuinely want to be overweight every single one of these wide receivers. Jefferson, CeeDee, even Amon-Ra, Neighbors, Puka, right? Brian Thomas, Nico Collins. Like I want to be overweight all of those guys. So like something has to give. And right now it's Saquon and Gibbs and Bijan. So, to a lesser extent, Genty. So I'm trying to navigate my way through that, but I'm not going to be like crazy rigid, especially on DraftKings. About right, like I'm cool to take some Bucky. I'm cool to take like even a little Josh Jacobs. I'm cool to take right, Chase Brown, Joe Mixon, Chuba Hubbard, like all these guys. I'm not gonna be too rigid around the running backs, though I do have like I said, a pretty set strategy for the first round, at least so far. Yeah, I totally agree, Huhames. I don't understand Henry. Like Henry's like fine on underdog, whatever, right? But first round full PPR doesn't make any sense. All right, Michael. Thank you for the super chat, first of all. Okay. And thank you for saving your question till here. Your shout out, Michael. Superflex Dynasty. Okay. There's a lot going on here. You're trading George Pickens, Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Sampson, a 26th third and a 27th second. Ooh. For T-Mac, Downs, Mason, and a 26 first. Yes. Hell yes. You have Neighbors, London, Debo, and Judy. Yeah. Yep. Slam. Run to the podium. Run to the podium. I want the T-Mac side. For sure. I'm just also like, I do like Pickens, but I liked right in Dynasty. I mean, I much prefer T-Mac to Pickens in Dynasty. And I'm not a huge Judkins and Sampson guy. I understand trying to lock down that backfield, but like the 26th first for the 26th third and the 27 second, like, and you're like Downs is just kind of like being tossed in here. Like, yeah, dude, wheels up. Love that. How long until CD and Pickens break into fisticuffs? The first time, I said this last night we do every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. If you are in the Discord in that link and you are a subscriber, we do what we call the lab, where we all hop in it's a Zoom actually, and we all just talk ball, right? Talk draft strategy, talk players, whatever. It goes on forever. It's great. It's an awesome place to think about and discuss best ball. But last night I specifically said to this question, like, just wait for the first 3rd and 6 when Dak Prescott airmails one over Kevontae Turpin's head and Pickens and CeeDee come to the sideline and start fighting Dak over not getting targeted, right? FF Doom says round 4 Chase Brown is highway robbery. I do like the round 4 is a nice little fall, though. I think I'm a little bit more lukewarm about Chase Brown than maybe the field is, but I think that price is good. Yeah, agreed. I would take him at that price. Let's say that. Let's just say that. All right, Jalen Hurts goes. Man, I hate the Burrow price, but do I take him? I don't have Kittle, and I do like Kittle actually. Let's get a little George Kittle. Yeah, let's do Kittle. Yeah, it's possible. Pepper Tony says Dak's ADP was too low before, probably going to overcorrect now. It's definitely possible. Though quarterbacks just kind of don't move as much as the other. You get some running back hype or whatever, he'll shoot way up. But see, this is the range where I actually like his. Damn, I was kind of hoping for Hampton right there. That would have been my first Hampton share. See, so like, look, I'm not trying to make every decision based on exposure already, but so this first, I have 29% Devontae Smith, and this first 100% that you see right here, it's such a good price, is with round, right? So I have 100% of my Devontae Smith is with CeeDee Lamb, and also 100% of my Devontae Smith is with T. Higgins. So, or 100% T. Higgins with Devontae Smith. So I think I'm going to actually pass on him this time and go over to a little chaperone Chuba Hubbard at the running back position. Yeah, I mean, I don't really think being out on Chase Brown sounds like a bad time. I'm not out. I just don't think he deserves to go with the 2-3 turn or whatever. He easily replicates Kyren in a better offense. I mean, well, we don't know. He's not the pass blocker that Kyren is. He's not a really great. He's the Chase Brown problem is that when we put non-elite players at elite prices because we project a role for them, like it goes south all the time, right? This is the Mike Davis case, right? People made this Mike Davis case, right? People made this Zeke case. Like we make this case all the time, and so with a bad defense, so they have to score more. What if he's not out there when they're losing? What if because he's not an awesome passing down back? He's not an awesome pass protector. He's not an awesome receiver. It's just like players who are non-elite, especially at the running back position, putting them at elite prices because we're really confident in their role goes south a lot. And so, Chase Brown last year smashed because he got all of the work. And everybody is now expecting him to get all of the work, even though Zach Moss got hurt. That's why he got all the work. Zach Moss is now back and healthy and restructured his contract to be with the Bengals. And they brought, Samaje Perine in, right? The cockroach, the guy who comes in and is absolutely useless for fantasy for himself, but comes in and plays passing downs because that's what teams trust him to do. This team, the Cincinnati Bengals, were the team that started using him. Joe Mixon never played passing downs because of Samaje Perine. Like, what if that happens with Chase Brown? There's just levels of risk to those kind of. He proved the concept when he got every single snap. Yep, but anybody does that. He kind of proved the concept also that he needs every single snap to be good for fantasy, right? He didn't prove that he was an elite football player at all. Connor says you just described Bucky Irving. No, Bucky was really elite. He just has flaws. Bucky is like truly elite. Like on a per touch basis, like Chase Brown doesn't even sniff Bucky at all. Definitely not as good of a receiver either, though Bucky has his flaws in that he's small. Definitely. Chase Brown, I'm not hating Chase Brown. I'm just saying a lot of guys earn the trust of coaches. I just drafted Chuba Hubbard. He earns the trust of coaches. Joe Mixon earns the trust of coaches. Alvin Kamara earns the trust of coaches, right? Like Taj Brooks is on the Bengals. He earned the trust of coaches in college too, right? Like James Conner earns the trust of coaches. Like it, this projectable volume thing, that the only reason people are drafting Chase Brown is because they saw it last year and they think he's going to get all the work. No one ever makes the case that Chase Brown is a superstar, ever, because he's not, because you can't make it. You can't make that case. So I just want to be cautious about how much I spend on that price. Like Bucky is a better football player than Chase Brown is, like certainly on a per touch basis. And I'm really, I haven't. This is the first time I drafted Bucky in 2020, in 2025. I didn't take him ever in pre-draft, and I'm not going to have very much. And I will also draft Chase Brown, right? So I'm not fading that player. I'm being cautious about the price in which I play, in which I pay for non-elite things. Yeah, Kyren, right? It's like he's Kyren, and I can just draft Kyren later, right? Like I have Kyren. I have Kyren buried in the rankings, by the way. So I'm not I'm not like a Kyren stan this year by any stretch of the imagination. I'll tell you that much. Ooh, a little DMOT. I've been really wanting to get some David Montgomery, so I like this. Nice little DMOT fall. This is not the kind of team I usually build, though. I only have two wide receivers through 6 rounds. Makes me feel very, very uncomfortable. Dude, ML says I like Sean Tucker as a Sean Tucker. That was a great Freudian slip, by the way. Sean Tucker as a handcuff to Bucky. I do too. Let's see how much I have. He's on here. Yeah. So you see 29% Sean Tucker for me so far. I'm in. I think he's a pretty fun click. Let's see here. Ooh, I don't love Addison. Let's change something. I need to take a freaking wide receiver though. Who Jennings is on what? All my damn CD teams. That's all right. I'm gonna take Juwan Jennings. I think he's a solid pick on this team. I'm gonna be taking some more flyer-ish wide receivers, and I'll roll some Juwan. I'm a little worried about Juwan, just like Chase Brown, whatever. But yeah, I'm just not a huge Addison guy. I don't even have an incredible like excuse for it. I was just like lukewarm on him as a prospect, and the only times he's ever really been like a fantasy smash was when Justin Jefferson was hurt. And you also remember this. This is again, look, I'm admitting full bias here, right? You remember the one touchdown that he caught that 2 years ago? It was Cousins, right? I don't know, or maybe Cousins was hurt. I don't remember. But 2 years ago, they throw like a prayer shot down the field, and the DB goes up to catch it and drops it and bounces it up into the air, and Addison catches it, and that was like one of his big games. Whatever. It's like the times when Addison was really good for fantasy is just like, even then it's like kind of fluky. He's not his like efficiency is like not that awesome. He's probably going to get suspended. Like I don't know. I have a blind. It's full bias on Addison. I'm just not a big fan. Scott, I sniped Chuba from you. Who did you take from me? Oh, Hampton. That's great. That's good. Let's see here. Yeah, also fair. Like I'm like I was not concerned last year with Sam Darnold for the Vikings, and I'm not generally concerned with JJ McCarthy, though I don't really like JJ McCarthy. Full transparency. Clearly not a big fan of these Vikings guys. Well, although like I love Jordan Mason, I love Justin Jefferson, right? I was a Jalen Naylor slappy last year, but I do think like we should at least bring it up that JJ McCarthy was like not the world's best quarterback prospect, and didn't play as a rookie, and we've never seen him in the NFL. It's like, I just trust in KOC and I trust in the Vikings, framework, what they do with quarterbacks and Justin Jefferson and everything. But there's like, at least, I think it's fair to bring up that there's risk. Exactly. And you nailed it. FK Coolers. There's enough uncertainty to give me some pause. Bingo. No notes. 10 out of 10. I think there's a chance JJ McCarthy could stink, and these Vikings ADPs are largely based on what they did with Darnold, for sure. I will say Justin Jefferson's ADP is based on Justin Jefferson fucking rocks. And I don't think anything matters for Justin Jefferson. It's a little hyperbole, but you get it. 2 wide receivers through 6, and they aren't your first 2 drafted players on DK grosses me out. I don't know if you're talking on somebody else's team. They were my first two drafted players, but I'm with you. What I will say is the DK rooms are so forgiving at the wide receiver position. You know what I mean? Like, man, the values that we can get at wide receiver are pretty crazy. Ooh. Okay, I was just sitting here talking about if we do a stream where we call Jordan Mason one of the best picks and we don't take him, I think that's wrong, right? I don't think you're allowed to do that. So we'll go ahead and reach for a little Jordan Mason, and I'm not gonna be able to get all my favorite running backs though. This is why you just don't take Bucky Irving, idiot. I should have double tapped. I'm so stupid. This is so stupid. I should have double tapped something here. I'll wait a minute and talk about it when I get on the clock. This is why you don't stream drafts. This team will be fine, but there's something I should have done here. I mean, the Kyler price is nice, but I should have double tapped Justin Herbert with Trey Harris, and so I'm just going to take Trey Harris. I know it's a ooh, okay. Actually, what's my next pick? 118. Let's see if I can get the stack. I don't know that I'm going to be able to get that stack, and I also should have taken Purdy, but I'm trying to live by the rules of the video. I can also take Purdy if he were to fall, right? I think logically this team probably should have been Purdy wide receiver. But when you call Jordan Mason and Justin Herbert the best values on the board, and then they're on the board and you don't take them, come on, disingenuous touting. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah. I think Bucky is just like fine, right? Good football player, better in PPR, like whatever. Like, fine. It's fine. I'm not like excited, but it's fine. Oh, God damn it, Scott. Scott in the draft, not going to let me get Trey Harris. You don't get to own Justin Herbert. We're going to duke it out over Justin Herbert. ML says, love Trey Harris, but I'm a little concerned Keenan comes back. 3 good wide receivers, then offense. Yeah, that's fair. Totally fair. Though they brought back Mike Williams. I'm not saying Mike Williams is stopping them from getting Keenan, but QJ is still there, and QJ is not going to get cut. And obviously Ladd, Trey Harris, and Mike Williams. Mike Williams was like their veteran signing. Keenan really overlaps with Ladd, being predominantly slot players who are much better out of the slot. So after the Michael Will signing, I'm much less worried about Keenan, though it's a risk. It's not a zero. There's certainly risk to that. Cheers, Olaf. Happy Thursday. Some people are calling him Hall of Fame Herbert. Okay, only Jim Harbaugh is calling that. But yes, yes. Also, Bull in a China shop says, don't forget Keenan is fat. That is true. How do you feel on these mid-round rookie wide receivers overall? Trey Harris, Kyle Williams, Jack Besh. Are you worried about the role for any? Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm similar to my anti-Addison bias. My pro Trey Harris bias is clouding that. Like, he could be the wide receiver 4 to start for sure. If it's Mike Williams and QJ with next to Lad. I think that would be fairly disastrous for the Chargers, but it's possible. I think that's possible. However, I do think that Kyle Williams, like, man, I don't know how we can confidently say really anything about Kyle Williams, and certainly Jack Besh. Like, whatever, they're like fine prospects, I guess. Like, not my favorite, not my least favorite. They're fine, but I don't know how we can be like mega confident that those guys are just like locked in every snap players. So yeah, I think that there's risk. I'm pretty confident, right, in the how do we say this? They have the clear runway and opportunity to have really good roles, right? Clean runway. Ain't no. They are first in the queue amongst the planes to get out of there. The problem is, like, what if they're not ready? What if they're not like this? They're not. These aren't first round picks. These aren't like mega awesome prospects. So, and someone could say the same about Trey Harris. So that's why, like I said, full bias admitted. But god damn it, there goes Trey Harris. But I had some small concerns, though. I'm going to draft them, right? Kyle Williams and definitely. This is not my favorite draft. This is not my best draft. Okay, we owned it. Comes back to me. Did Purdy make it back? Okay, we'll take this consolation. We'll take the Purdy consolation. Dak up next, so we could have done Dak CD. I screwed up this draft for sure. Like, big time. Terrible. This is why don't stream draft. Don't stream drafts, my friends. Don't do it. A lot of Isaiah Likely, as you can see. Let's see here. You can see I don't take a lot of this range of wide receiver, but what is kind of nice, this is a very unique structure for me. Only 3 wide receivers. It is going to put me into a range of wide receiver I don't typically take. I have taken a little bit of Marvin Mims. I'm okay with Christian Kirk, but I don't think with CDT, Jawan, I'm not sure that chaperone Christian Kirk is great here. Not that Bateman is really that much better, but we're gonna do a little Rashad Bateman. Just give me something at wide receiver here, tied to the Ravens. Bateman doesn't have the risk of that Christian Kirk does of losing his job to Jalen Noel. So yeah, Dak versus Purdy is close, but I do have Jawan and Kittle. I think they would both be fine. Taking Purdy, a little bit after ADP, and I haven't drafted Brock Purdy yet, but I agree. I think they're both fine for sure. But who doesn't love a better and best ball pick? People got to pump the brakes on Besh. IMO feels like we're a touch high on the Raiders. 2 top 15 play. I do think we might be out over our skis on the Raiders. Like, I like the Geno upgrade as much as the next person. Who doesn't love Genty? Who doesn't love Bowers? Right? Blah blah blah. But my good friend Rob Coakley called Jacoby Myers the worst pick on the board last night. I think that is fair, and we're really putting a lot of confidence in the Raiders offense. Like, Geno is fine. Pete Carroll is fine. This is not these guys aren't going to win the Super Bowl. This is not going to be a top 5 offense. So I think that is a fair and valid criticism. Though I like most of the Raiders, just not Jacoby Myers. Let's see. Stop it, Pie. Miles Sanders is not one of the best picks on the board. I have him ranked. I think it's fine. You're not going to ever, don't tell anyone I'm saying that Miles Sanders is whatever, right? Every cliche in the book, you can do worse, right? There are worse picks on the board than Miles Sanders, which some might say that that's not true. But Jaden Blue, the backup at Texas, gadget pass catching wide receiver, basically, he's basically a wide receiver that everybody has apparently fallen in love with because they hate Javonte and Miles Sanders. But no, Miles Sanders is not one of the best fucking values in all of drafts. Stop it. I included Josh Palmer. Shouldn't you be happy enough? I included one player who is not my kind of a guy, Miles Sanders. Stop. Bateman is JMO for 80 picks cheaper. Fair. Not quite the same level of ceiling, but it's not that different. I don't think it's a terrible take. Yeah, ML says, I'm with you. I'm a pass blocking nerd for running backs, not for offensive linemen. I couldn't tell you, but I nerd out over pass blocking, and that's Javonte's lone redeeming quality, unless he remembers how to run. But he had the second most pass blocking snaps in the NFL last year behind Kyron Williams, and teams trust him to do that. McCarthy going ahead of Dak in this draft is kind of batshit. But yes, I agree. To the Jefferson drafter, right? Yeah, the 104 took Jefferson, so McCarthy's not going to come back. He doesn't have any Cowboys, so and he has Addison. Yeah, got to take McCarthy. But nice for the Dak. Unstack Dak. No, Dak Pickens, right? So then the Pickens guy gets a nice Dak fall. Shit, that's a fun. Oh, fuck him. Trey Harris, he took Trey Harris, gets Dak to fall all the way back to him with Pickens. Does he unstack Knicks? Yeah. But still, Tyreek, Travis Hunter, DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Trey Harris. When you start running back, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews. What fucking year is this team from? I really need to start looking at my own team. Oh, look at that. Get a little Ferg action. Best value on the board, he says. All right, done at tight end, done at quarterback, very strong at running back. Yeah, Restrepo's UDFA for the Titans. He ain't gonna make the team, but he's in camp. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, round 12. I should start paying attention. I mean, we're just hanging out, having fun, and I'm not doing a very good job of constructing my team. Luckily, some people have just handed me some decent picks. See, this is why you don't take Christian Kirk, because now I can draft this Adam Thielen ass pick. Oh no. Please tell me there's something better here. Okay, pick 147. See, so I just want to shout out Trey Benson, because as you can see on your screen here, I have a truckload of Trey Benson, a truckload of Tyler Algier. So I am a man of my word, but I just don't think I can do it on this team. And I'm going to do Adam Thielen for a little wide receiver chaperone, because I already have Bucky, Chuba, David Montgomery, and Jordan Mason. The wide receivers are rather weak on this team. Obviously, the first couple are fine, but Jesus Christ, Rashad Bateman and Adam Thielen. Okay, you guys pump the brakes. It's Thursday afternoon. You still got another day before you get to the weekend. Like, it's Mother's Day weekend. Keep it sane through Mother's Day. These takes are not going to trend you well into a wonderful day spent with your mother. If you were given these hot Miles Sanders and Hunter Renfrow and stop. Pittman is probably the best value on the board, but I just can't. Yeah, I'm not sure he's the best value on the board, but I'm open to that case for sure, and I'm also in full agreement of the I just can't part. Like, it's painful. He was so bad, and then what? How is it going to get better? Hunter Renfrow is young Adam Thielen with a year of rest. Darius Geis, is he in prison? What happened to Darius Geis? What was it? What was it that he's just a free agent? I can't remember what Darius Geis did. Oh, charges were dropped. Okay. February 23rd, 2023, he signed with the Vegas Hawks of the Indoor Football League, and he was released on June 21st. It's been rough. Yeah. He was arrested for strangulation, assault, battery, and destruction of property from a domestic violence issue. He was accused of sexual assault. So yeah, he couldn't. Seems like a not so great guy. Except in March 2021, a 74-year-old woman accused. Good Jesus Christ. Okay, moving on. Enough about Darius Geis. Who did it? ML. Come on. We're trying to have a good time. We're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time, and that subject is not. It's not it. Oh, man, remember when he was going like really? It's okay. It's okay. What a bad person. Good Lord, not you, ML. He who shall not be named. But I'm trying to remember. Was it going into his rookie season or after his rookie season that he was like going like real high in drafts? Oof. Sometimes some bad humans in the old NFL occasionally. There's Anthony. There's a run on quarterbacks. Look at this. Bryce Young, Cam Ward, Sam Darnold, Matthew Stafford, Anthony Richardson. that is pretty. It's pretty good. Okay. Yeah, he was good. Crazy how many. Like I mean, I'm not saying there's like a ton of that bad of stories of the really bad people, but just crazy how sometimes guys pop up. A more. This is also a sad story. So now I'm doing this. So you can yell at me, ML. But Alex Collins, I think I've told this story before. Like, I really liked Alex Collins. I was the slappy drafting Alex Collins in the second or third round or whatever it was after his breakout season with the Ravens. Unfortunately, he has since passed, Alex Collins. So RIP, but he wasn't a bad person. But it's like guys like all of those random names that you're like, remember that Alex Collins season when he just went nuts? Remember Darius Geis? Remember, all these random names? It's insane how many of those there are. Soon we're going to be saying, remember that Chase Brown season? In 5 years, we're going to look back and be like, remember when Chase Brown smashed? Imagine drafting him in the beginning of the third round. Yeah, see, this is why you just don't draft these kind of. Oh, boom. When you say Josh Palmer is one of the best values on the board and you build a team that needs Josh. I have drafted Adam Thielen and Josh Palmer on the same team, and frankly, Rashad Bateman. Oh boy. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Not mad. Just disappointed. God. you should draft DeAndre. Keenan. I did it did make me laugh that atop the list here. DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen, like my God. Okay. I am going to draft an Allen, but I'm going to draft Braylon Allen, who I do like. It's my RB5. Yeah, this is true. I shouldn't lump Bateman in with the Adam Thielen and Josh Palmer. But I'm light at wide receiver, and I'm going to be taking some mega swings right in my last couple of wide receivers. I have 6. This is going to be for sure 2, 6, 10, 2, right? When you draft Bucky Chuba Demont, I'm going to make this a 10 wide receiver team. I feel really good about that little 2, 6, 10, 2. However, these last 4 wide receivers, it's home run swings. So I actually do just straight up think like the Bateman, Thielen, Palmer thing is fine on this team, probably correct on this team. I got, and frankly, Juwan, it's like, all right, CD and T, those are my rocks. I got to find some late wide receivers that crush, right, on this team. So drafting your shitty ass chaperones in the middle rounds here, I actually think it's kind of good. I am gonna go through and actually add some names to the queue though for some of these swings. I don't hate Cedric Tillman. I think Io Manor fits that mold. I'll put Pearson there, but I don't really love that. Let's see. Jalen Royals fits that mold. Isaac Tesla, Pat Bryant, Darius Slayton, another chaperone ass pick. Let's see. Why the hell does Jimmy Horn Jr. go? Why is he even drafted? What the fuck am I missing? Jimmy Horn Jr.? Nonsense. Jesus Christ. Roman Wilson. Unbelievable. Dante Thornton. Gross. Diami. Savion. Jalen Lane. See, this is why you don't draft this team. Because look at these names that you have to put in the queue when you do this. Torrey Horton. Jamiri DK. Ty Felton. Oh my God. Oh, KLS. This is gonna be a fucking Keandre Lambert Smith team. I can't believe it. It's fair. This is a completely reasonable and fair point from Martin. If Travis Hunter is the truth and Shedeur Sanders sucks, then Jimmy Horn's underrated. Fair. Totally fair. Yep. Thank you. This is a Miles Sanders ass team. Yes, it is. Do you think Kendre Miller has a shot to be a thing this year? I like his situation. Dennis Allen gone. Other coach admitted he could have played. Worth the dart. Yeah, I think so. The market has given up on Kendre, and they drafted Devin Neal in the 5th round. So he's going to have to beat out Devin Neal. But I haven't given up on Kendre. I'm not excited. Like, I'm just going to have a sprinkle. He is, him and frankly Devin Neal both are guys I'm more interested in waiting for the news, waiting for camp. We're going to learn, right? We don't have to swing on every situation right now in May. So, damn it. Shipley goes at 187. Melch, is it Melch? Did you do that? God damn it, Melch. I was going to round out my running back room with shit, man. Son of a bee. Yeah, let's take Royals. Damn it. I really do not love Estime. I also really do not love Dobbins. If not Chase Brown, then who? But that's the thing. It's like Chase Brown can be the lead back, right? Like no one is saying it. All right. I'm taking Pat Bryant. Need another swing, rookie swing season. Jalen Royals, Pat Bryant. No, I didn't. Pie. I did not think that one of you guys were gonna let me get Shipley, but I tried to just stay silent about it. As a wise man once said, real G's move in silence, like lasagna. That's what I was trying to do in regards to Will Shipley and just pray. But it didn't work. So let me be pissed about it for 30 seconds because I'm trying to draft 100% Will Shipley. It's true. So true. It's one of my favorites. The Wayne lyric is just so funny. Peak Lil Wayne is that line. It's so stupid but so brilliant at the same time. It's great. Yeah, I wanted Will Shipley. I think he's the best pick on the board in all drafts. But what was the Chase Brown thing? Like this, my general point, which I probably did not make super well, is not that like someone is going to usurp him as the lead back. My point is that right, like Mike Davis was the lead back for the Atlanta Falcons, but everybody got so excited for him, thinking he was going to get all of the work, and it just like doesn't work out that way. Right? Like teams generally don't go into a season, especially with not elite talents, and they don't play him every single snap. Like he's, Moss is going to mix in. What if Taj Brooks is good? P. Ryan might steal passing down work. And the next thing you're like, okay, I got a 55% snap share running back who doesn't play passing downs. It's like, congrats. An early third round. Yeah, his lyrics are funny and genius. Martin says, yeah, he's the best. I am the Wayne generation. Lil Wayne and Eminem and Jay-Z and Kanye, unfortunately. Yeah. This is like kind of a like really good point. Another Martin is bringing the fucking heat this afternoon. Chase Brown bet is that he's going to get all the work again when we all know he's not going to get all the work again. so true. Yeah, old Kanye before he lost his mind. That was peak. I'm definitely boomer. I've become the thing that I hated when I was younger of I hate new modern music, mainly hip hop. I'm a hip hop and R&B guy, and I don't listen to like almost any of the new shit. We just cycle through the same 1,000 songs on Spotify from when I was younger. So yeah, sad. I'm a boomer now, and I'm proving it in this fucking draft with this team: Thielen, Palmer, Bateman, Jawan Jennings, David Montgomery, Chuba Hubbard. Jesus Christ. I don't even know who I am anymore. This is why you don't, I'm telling you, this is why you don't stream drafts. You lose your identity. You make shitty teams. Though I don't think this one's that bad. But I mean, like, I'm genuinely going to draft Keandre Lambert-Smith on this team. Like, think about that. Congrats. You got Adam Thielen, and now you have to draft Keandre Lambert-Smith. Sick team. Didn't get Will Shipley. Unfortunately, Martin, I cannot do one more draft today because I have to go to a baseball show for rotogrinders.com in 30 minutes. But I'm going to be back tomorrow. I'm going to be, oh, dude, love Mob Deep. I mean, Shook Ones is just one of the best ever. If you don't like nod your head when you hear the Shook Ones beat, like you're just, I don't want to know you. We're not friends. We can't be friends if Shook Ones comes on and you don't just start doing that. You're a robot. You're not a real person. But yeah, tomorrow, be back tomorrow afternoon. I haven't pinpointed the exact time. I'll release the media schedule again in the Discord. Join the Discord. I'll release the media schedule later tonight, and it'll be up on the homepage of the site as well on the sidebar. I'll put it on Twitter and the social media and everything. So I will announce that, and so Friday afternoons we'll start doing some drafts as well. So can't get a second one in, but come back tomorrow. Okay, I'm pretty fucking sure that this team is supposed to be Darius Slayton here. I know that this is bad. You can see another player who I almost included, Jarquez Hunter, on the list, but I'm not. I'm clearly this number is so high because he's a last round pick, and I just kind of take him in the last round every single time. But I'm not sure he's the absolute best value, though. My ownership would. There he goes. Anyway, I'm actually going to take Roman Wilson here. I think he's the absolute right pick for this team. Wide receiver 10. Is he going to be anything? Probably not. But that's exactly what I'm looking for, right? On this team is some combination of, so I don't have to do like, okay, we didn't stack Justin Herbert. I think everything's going to be okay. But I do want to take a 6 running back on this team, and Roman Wilson is right. I know I'm not trying to get like crazy exposure to Roman Wilson, but George Pickens is gone, and they're not bringing in another wide receiver. And you absolutely do not have to take Jerome Ford. You absolutely do not have to take Jerome Ford. Is just like not really a thing anymore. You guys can have him. Where do I have Jerome Ford ranked? Let's see. I have Jerome Ford ranked 243rd. You can definitely say that that's silly. They drafted not one, but 2 running backs in the top 4 rounds of the NFL draft. He's cooked. He may play some snaps, but they would both have to get hurt. And even then, he's probably not going to be a workhorse. They'll bring somebody in. He's just not. It's over. Sometimes it's okay to admit that it's over, right? And it's over for Jerome Ford. Just because I see him on the screen now, and then I'll go back to the draft board. Please do not draft Jonathan Brooks or Tank Dell. Jonathan Brooks was announced out for the season. Tank Dell also out for the season. Fair. You took it too far at the end here, but hear me out. What if Jerome Ford gets traded to the Bengals and Chase Brown gets cut? Obviously, Chase Brown getting cut, ridiculous. But Jerome Ford, so first of all, Jerome Ford, nobody trades for running backs really. Like, okay, maybe a 7th rounder for Jerome Ford or something. But it is a fair point. I will consider the fact that 3% of the time in August, Jerome Ford gets traded. I will consider it. Yeah, Tank Dell gets drafted in like every draft. It's like if you're playing best ball or just fantasy football to try to win money, which I assume is what we're all doing. Who the hell puts up money to enter these contests? We draft them in May and we don't get paid out till January of 2026. I assume the goal for all of us is to win money. If you're not playing on DraftKings, you are doing yourself a disservice. I'm not saying DraftKings is my favorite platform. I'm not saying to not play the other sites. I'm saying to play the other sites. I play on Underdog. I play on Drafters. I play on Fast Draft. If you like FFPC, do it. Play everywhere. But if you're trying to win as much money as possible, and not playing on DraftKings, I think you're doing it wrong. Tank Dell is not going to play football this year, and it goes in the 18th round of every single draft. Everyone. In fact, in this draft, someone took Taysom Hill with a blown out knee and then followed it up with Tank Dell. I hope it's not one of you because I'm going to feel bad if I just called you out. But, right, someone from SaberSim just taking the walking fucking wounded. Yeah, see, this is why you need to pay attention, because I do need to get a running back. I like Jordan James. Some people keep talking about Estime. No, you know what? Kendre time, baby. Somebody brought up Kendre. Let's do it. I haven't. Yeah, he will play at some point. Probably. But Taysom's old. It's I drafted Taysom last year, and if Taysom were healthy, I would draft Taysom again this year. But perfect team for the first Kendre sprinkle of the entire season. What if Jerome Ford becomes Emmitt Smith reincarnated and gets traded to the Cowboys? K-Sizzle in general, how many players is too many players to stack on a team? There's not like a set number, but in general, I don't want to have like 6 dudes from the same team. But I'll have teams with like 4 guys from the same team for sure. So I don't think that there's like any real set number, but just like, I don't want to go like absolutely insane, right? Like 5 guys from one team is like, I guess maybe 5 is like the limit. That's 20% of your roster is one NFL roster. And they're just not all going to have big games in the same week. So I think that's the issue, right? Is like, how many spots can I dedicate, knowing that when I invest heavily in one offense, I'm only going to get maybe at best 3 big games at best, right? And that would be like quarterback plus 2 guys. So, yeah, let's run the team down really quickly because this is a different one. We got a good amount of the top values on the board, but we drafted a little bit different than my normal style. We're trying to embrace some things on DraftKings, taking running backs a tick earlier than we normally would. What I would like to call the sandwich build: get my wide receivers piece of bread at the top, get some wide receivers a little bit later at the bottom, but in the middle, we'll get a little lettuce and tomato and some meat with the running backs. We started with CeeDee Lamb out of the 103, T. Higgins, Bucky Irving, George Kittle, Chuba Hubbard, and David Montgomery. So yes, that was only 2 wide receivers through 6 rounds. Felt very uncomfortable. Juwan Jennings, I actually do like as a best ball pick. Jordan Mason, one of our top values. Justin Herbert, one of our top values. Came back with Brock Purdy because we have Kittle and Juwan. Made a lot of sense. Need some wide receivers, right? Rashad Bateman, Jake Ferguson, one of our top values at tight end. Adam Thielen and Josh Palmer, our chaperones for the upcoming rookie and punt wide receivers that we need to hit on some of these punts, but we also need to take them out on the field trip and advise them, make sure they eat their lunch and don't pee all over themselves. Josh Palmer, though, one of our best values. Braylon Allen, who I really, really like. Didn't quite make the list today, but fit the mold of our running back value. And then we had to start swinging. Jalen Royals and Pat Bryant. I really do like Pat Bryant, honestly. Darius Slayton, another chaperone-ish guy. And Roman Wilson, another swing with George Pickens out of the equation. And then, whatever. We had to have some fun. We chaperoned it up. We went really boring with the wide receivers for quite a stretch with the team, quite frankly. Chuba Hubbard, Bucky Irving, Adam Thielen, all these guys on this team. Got to go back to the tried and true Kendre Miller. Thank you guys for joining. I do have to get out of here. As I mentioned, we'll be back tomorrow for some more drafts here. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Join the Discord. You'll get notified there as well when we go live. and be on the lookout. Pat is out of town this week with the new, so no legendary sickos, but bringing in our good friend Davis Maddock for a little fun conversation tomorrow. That'll be out on Saturday, but I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Enjoy your weekend and happy Thursday. Happy Thursday and happy best ball season. Peace.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? If you turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.